ॐ श्री गणेशाय नमः। ॐ श्री सरस्वत्यै नमः। ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। I take a pardon. Since I am alone here, a small checkup. Please wait. ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं। सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। ॐ श्री सद्गुरुभ्यो नमः। Hari Om. We will read the first 3 shlokas together. Vedo nityamadhiyatam taduditam karma swanushtiyatam teneshasya vidhiyatam apachitihi kamne matistyajyatam पापौघः परिधूयतां भवसुखे दोषोऽनुसन्धीयताम् आत्मेच्छा व्यवसीयतां निजगृहात् तूर्णं विनिर्गम्यताम् सङ्गस्सत्सु विधीयतां भगवतो भक्तिर्दृढाधीयताम् शान्त्यादिः परिचीयतां दृढतरं कर्माशु सन्त्यज्यतां सद्विद्वानुपसृप्यतां प्रतिदिनं तत्पादुकासेव्यतां ब्रह्मैकाक्षरमर्थ्यतां श्रुतिशिरो वाक्यं समाकर्ण्यताम् वाक्यार्थश्च विचार्यताम् श्रुतिशिरः पक्षः समाश्रीयताम् दुस्तर्कात् सुविरम्यताम् श्रुतिमतः तर्कोऽनुसन्धीयताम् ब्रह्मास्मीति विभाव्यताम् अहरहः गर्वः परित्यज्यताम् देहेऽहं मतिरुज्यताम् बुधजनैः वादः परित्यज्यताम् ब्रह्म अस्मि इति विभाव्यताम्. This is where we were. Having gone through the first two stages of Shravanam and Mananam. We discussed elaborately on these two yesterday. The third aspect we enter, third stage, Nididhyasanam. Now what is this Nididhyasanam? Yesterday we dealt with it a little. We will recall and proceed further. In our science, there is this very important factor called subject-object relationship. And the science there is, subject can never become the object and object can never become the subject. The subject uses the object for transactional purposes, for utility. We gave the example of the clothes, the hand, etc. That which I am aware of is object of my awareness and I remain the subject. That which I come to know becomes the object of my knowledge and I become the subject. That which I gain experience with, things or beings. The gaining of the experience of anything makes that thing or being the object of my experience. Therefore, I remain the subject and all and sundry other than me becomes object of my awareness, my knowing, my perception, my experience. That which is object cannot be me. Therefore, anything that I am in connection with is not me. And yesterday we gave the example. What are the example? The cloth we said that I wear, the wristwatch that I wear, maybe the wallet I have, the mobile I keep with me. They are all objects and it is easier to understand. The cloth what I wear, when it tears, I don't tear. I change the cloth. Is it not? One step further going ahead, my hand, just as my watch is not me, my cloth is not me, my hand, my leg, my head, all these cannot be me because it is mine. That which is mine are objects of my perception and therefore I am the subject, I cannot become the object. So, I cannot be the body which I claim as mine. my body. This we discussed yesterday. Then we also discussed my mind. The mind, which is the seat of all kinds of sentiments and emotions, which is the seat of a tremendous amount of parade of thoughts, are all my object of experience. Yesterday I said, I hope you remember, mind is not a container of thoughts. Thoughts itself is the mind. So, when I become aware of the thoughts, when I become the quality and texture of the thoughts that I entertain, isn't it true? Sometimes we are very happy, and at another period we become very sad. Third moment we become very angry. Fourth moment we are tired. Fifth moment we are very sad. Like that you find at any given period of time, the moods in my mind keeps changing. I am aware of that mood when I was happy, and I am aware of the change of the mood from happiness to sorrow, or from sorrow to happiness, to becoming angry, to becoming tired. There are some moments where I have so much of love pouring in. For example, there is a small child which is sitting with me. At that time, the child may not be aware about me. The child may not even know me properly. But the child is sitting there. It is peacefully playing with some object. And I also try to play. The child entertains my playing with it. Therefore, what happens? The child also is playing. I am also playing. I laugh. The child laughs. There is an amount of unconditional love which is being shared between me and the child, and in the process I become so happy. The child also is happy, and after some time the mother of the child comes, picks the child and goes. If I am a little sensible, what will I do? Bye. I will tell the child, I will wish the child, I will greet the child, and the child also goes happily, and I am also not sad. Conditions apply. I am also not sad, meaning what? I have no personal attachment with the child. Therefore, when the child is going, I wish the child. Is it not? And then maybe somebody else comes, my mood changes. That person changes the mood. The person's way of communicating with me changes my mood. Maybe there is some transactional activity going on. At that time, my mood is no more with the same kind of love when it was with the child. It changes to transactional mood. Please note, I am aware of that mood which was very much with the child and the change of mood. Therefore, I am aware of the change of experience of my own mind. Think. Therefore, when I am aware of the mind, I am aware of the changes in the mind becomes my object of experience, and therefore I cannot be the mind. That is why I say my mind, and sometimes I say I changed my mind. Thus we find the mind also becomes an object. Similarly, intellect. The decisions that I make, very many times we all know that we change our decisions because our perception changes. Our relationship with that particular activity changes, with that particular person changes, with particular thing or being changes. And I am aware. Those convictions I had earlier and the convictions I had later, the change from one to the other, all the three I am aware, therefore I become the subject who is aware of all the changes. Thus, body, mind and intellect change. In the process, I also come to understand the real I, subject I, who is independent of. Please note this very carefully. I am independent of the objects that I have been experiencing, the body, the mind, the intellect, the world, everything, the experiencer I, remaining one and the same, the experienced objects, the situations, everything change. If the body, mind and intellect, which is full of changes, the body also changed. We did not come at this in this size. We came like a small little infant, innocent baby. Now what we are, we know. Isn't it? This huge structure has undergone change every moment. Therefore, thus having come to know that I am different from all of these, now the nididhyasanam, the contemplation is on what? On who the true I is. Shravanam has taken place. Mananam, with reference to the various schools of thoughts, have taken place. In fact, now while we are studying with the Advaita Vedanta, na dvitiyam vidyate, there is no second. That means there is only one, and the Shastra say, I am that only one. Then who am I really? Thus, when I come to understand the inner truth, remember the essential nature. And what is my essential nature? With reference to Jivatma, it is Chit, the consciousness, the microcosm. With reference to the macrocosm, with reference to the whole universe, it is Sat, which we discussed elaborately yesterday. This, if it is well understood, then my conviction becomes so strong that I will have no reason whatsoever to worry in this life. Abhayam pratishtham vindate, athaso bhayam gato bhavati. Taittiriya Upanishad says. So, if this strength has to come in me, abhayatvam, fearlessness, conviction, then nididhyasanam must be perfectly done, systematically done, whereby I gain the emotional strength, the emotional sthirata, stability. Whatever happens in the world outside, I am no more affected by them. What was my condition earlier? Earlier my condition was raga, dvesha, mada, matsarya, kama, krodha, bhaya. Everything used to taunt me, torture me. I was being waved from this end to that end, from that feeling to this feeling, this moment to that moment. There is so much of tosses happening. I was tossed hither and thither, and I used to get identified with everything, and either I'll elate myself or deflate myself. Either I used to be very happy or I used to cocoon myself into one corner. Thus, being completely identified with the various moods day after day, you will find man searches for that quietude, that peace where he is no more tossed around, but he remains quiet, composed, collected, peaceful within. Isn't it that what we want actually? Aren't we looking for that peace? In our day-to-day activities, from the dawn to dusk, from womb to tomb, as Puja Gurudev would say, we have been running, working, toiling, sweating for what? To gain this particular experience of complete quietude. And Nididhyasanam gives us that ability, that efficiency to face all and sundry moods that come up every day, all and sundry challenges that come up every day, and every situation is handled rather much well handled by what? By the quiet mind. And such a quiet mind, which is undisturbed, is a mind which is fit for contemplation, and it is such a peaceful mind which will come to gain the experience of the inner essential nature, which is Parabrahma Swarupa Paramatma. This is the process of, or this is the journey of a seeker from what he was to gaining the knowledge of the truth. Such a person who has thus gained the stability is called Jivan Mukta Purusha. And a Jivan Mukta Purusha, now we have to be very careful here. Jivan Mukta Purusha, a realized person, it doesn't mean that he no more works with the world outside. He no more shows any kind of happiness. Somebody say, oh, your daughter has got us, has given birth to a son. Oh. Like that he will not sit. He will enjoy. He will show his joy. He will express he will express his joy. Oh really? Very good. How is the baby? Let me go and see. He might express. Immediately one should not conclude, oh, he is elated, he is jumping. That means he has not gained that sthirata. Let us be very careful. We are not here to judge others. We are not here to tell whether this person is a Jivan Mukta or not. The whole gamut of sadhana is only to check with ourselves for ourselves. If this is very clearly understood, you will find the Jivan Mukta Purusha, he cannot put a board and go, I am a Jivan Mukta Purusha. No. He will be working with the world like any other ordinary person. When there is a situation, he might laugh. Another situation, he might be very calm. And third situation, when there is something wrong going on, he might probably raise his little voice to express himself. Or when there is a sad situation, he may appear to be saddened. But in all these situations, the inner self in him is completely undisturbed, is quiet. Meaning what? He is unaffected by good, bad, indifferent. सुख दुखे समे कृत्वा लाभा लाभौ जया जयो. Gita says. Another very perfect shloka. Dukkheshu anudvignamanaha sukheshu vigataspruhaha vita raga bhaya krodha sthita dhihi muniruchyate. Sthita dhihi meaning what? The one whose mind, dhihi, is sthira. In what? In all conditions. Sukha, dukkha, labha, nashta, ninda, stuti. In all these, samikritva. Samikritva meaning what? He has so much of control of his mind. That perfect control that nothing in this world, no power in this world can ever disturb him. In his inner self, he is absolutely still. Absolutely unaffected. And therefore, one should never misunderstand a Jivan Mukta by his actions. All the same, at one particular stage, it is so very evident that he is a Jivan Mukta because at any given period of time, his mental poise remains the same, and even if he expresses some joy elsewhere or some sorrow elsewhere or some sadness anywhere, within no period of time you will find him back to his sthirata. This ability to stay put in one's own true nature is Jivan Mukta Lakshanam. Having said that, now Acharya Shankara gives us certain general instructions. General instructions which are helpful for Nididhyasanam. Remember, Nididhyasanam is with reference to the knowledge got and with reference to the experiences which one gets out of implementation of the knowledge in the Grihastha-ashrama. One comes to gain that knowledge and with all that experience learns to be quiet in the Nididhyasana. And once that is done, it doesn't mean that he is perfect for the rest of his life. In fact, one has to be extremely careful because slipping down is very easy. Slipping down is very easy. Therefore, one has to be careful unless and until that particular complete identification with the body, mind and intellect is completely out. Now see, all of us going through this sadhana panchakam, it is only initial text. By going through this, we have come to understand. Intellectually, we have come to understand. What is that understanding? I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not the intellect. This sharira, mana, buddhi, chitta, ahankara. Chitta is memory, ahankara is ego. We will deal with that in the next pada now. When we have come to understand all these are not me, then the essence in me, that essential nature in me, that consciousness in me, that alone is me. That alone am I. None of these things. This intellectual understanding has happened through logic, yes. How did we go through the logic? Through science, subject, object and relationship. We have understood. Intellectual understanding. But if it has to become my experience, personal, private, subjective experience, then I must consciously apply that knowledge, that intellectual knowledge, in my very expression in the world outside. What do I mean by expression? While transacting in the world outside, how does my mind respond or react? These are two different things. One is reacting to situation and two, responding to situation. Previously, we were all reacting to situation because the knowledge was not clear. Once we gain the knowledge, the same knowledge makes us or brings maturity in responding to situation. While thus we are responding to situation, if we are not careful, then the knowledge gained becomes something like the academic knowledge, which only boosts our ego, our ahankara. Now see, one has to be very careful here. Why? Ahankara of other things can be dispelled, can be given up through knowledge. Ahankara of all other things can be given up through knowledge. But if there is ahankara of knowledge itself, it is very dangerous, disastrous. Therefore, one has to be not doubly but triply careful of holding our mind carefully that it doesn't develop ahankara. The arrogance of knowledge is very, very dangerous. This we can see in very many cases. In very many cases, there are people who are very firm in speaking. It may not mean that he is arrogant. But there are some people who are very cunning, who are very, scheming, and as though they don't have any arrogance, sarcastically they will pinpoint. So, one has to be very careful whether such expression is born out of arrogance, egocentric, or genuine query for knowing. These are all certain very important factors which others may not find out. Others need not find out also. But the subject will know. We will deal with another very important situation. Now, after this, in this very shloka, Buddha janaihi vadaha parityajyatam. At that time, we will see more about it. Now, having said that, Acharya in the next pada says, aharaha garvaha parityajyatam. Again and again, aharaha, time and again one has to check oneself. Sometimes we may not even know that we have developed an ahankara. The ahankara is very, very, very subtle. Sometimes we may say, I have no ahankara, I have no ego. But truly, how does the mind react or respond to situations will clearly indicate, need not to be to others, it will indicate we ourselves whether it is born out of knowledge or born out of knowledge based ego. As I said, Jnana Garva is very dangerous, and very many times it expresses itself as arguments. It expresses itself as putting down another person. It expresses as pointing out the other person's mistakes, or sometimes very badly it expresses in a very sarcastic way that I know, you don't know. This garva, if it plays loudly, it may not be that big a problem. Why? When I show my ego outside in the world will teach me. The world is ruthless. And in today's world, everybody is working with that arrogance only. Exceptions are stained, if we may say so. Everybody works with their own arrogance, either subtle or vibrant. Therefore, when I show my arrogance, when I show my ego, the world will teach me a lesson and keep me at that place where I belong to. Therefore, garvaha parityajyatam. Remove that ego. And this sense of vinamrata, humility, that namrata in me, it is very beautifully seen by others, and you will find the more I work with humility, the more people respond to me, and there is a beautiful relationship between me and the world, and there is a knowledge shared even in such wonderful relationship. But when I show my arrogance of knowledge, neither I gain out of it, nor I will be able to give any knowledge to others. In both cases, you will find at the outset, I have closed my mind out of my own arrogance. I would have closed my mind, and at the same time, I will only be distributing those bits of arrogance which others are careful, others will know. Therefore, one has to take extreme care all the more after gaining the knowledge. At homes, people will say, you are going to classes, spirituality classes, you are going to satsang, you go to Swamiji's so many sessions, and I don't see any change in you. You are the same what you are. So it is something like, as though Vedanta Shastra, Vedanta Jnana is for classroom. While I am sitting in the classroom, while I am listening to the Guru, then I am a Vedantin. Outside, I am a totally different person. It is something like people wearing some set of dresses at home and change the dress and go when they go outside. Some people wear slippers within the homes and they don't wear that slipper outside. Outside they wear a different slipper. And again, based on the type of activity outside, the dress and slippers change. Like that, the personality cannot change. Here, the reference here is remain humble, remain simple. Vidya dadati vinayam. That vinayata, that vinamrata will bring more and more peace at the mind level, more and more quietude at the mind level, And such a quiet and peaceful mind is the mind that will be sharp enough to accept the knowledge more comfortably and respond to it. If I don't thus respond, sometimes the fall will be very sharp. And sometimes the fall will be such that you won't realize that you are fallen. There was that beautiful story of Narada who slipped because he used to tell, he went and told Vishnu Bhagavan that I am the greatest devotee of yours. I have no other thoughts in me. I think only of you. All the time I chant Narayana, Narayana. Vishnu sent him, go and bring me one pot of water from that river. And the rest of the story you all know. Is it not? Think. Going to just take a pot of water, he looks at somebody and then he falls in love with that woman, and then even children are born. Till then he never realized that he went to bring water for Narayana. That bad will be the slip. Therefore, one must be very alert. Sleeping is not a mistake, but waking up immediately will be very costly. Therefore, one has to be very sharp enough to hold on to the truth alone. And therefore, no stone must be unturned, no room given for ahankara to take over, ego to take over. Very, very important. Because the cost of that ego sometimes may be lives together. Therefore, be careful. Is the instruction. Aharaha, again and again, time and again. Garvaha, parityajyatam. Then one may ask one question. Swamiji, if garva is given up, why is it written again and again? Because we giving up our garva is, it just comes back. By the time we thought and we say that we have given up, it has come from the back door. Like how we chant. Kayena vacha manasendreva buddhyatmana apakrite sva karomi yadasakalam narayana samarpayami. Tell me something. When I say narayana eti samarpayami, do I really give up that? Kayena vacha manasa indriyirva buddhihi ahankarena va prakrite. Here atma means atmanava is ahankarena va. Ahankarena va prakrite swabhavat yadyat karomi sakalam. That moment you finish, but immediately you have that ahankara. What? I have done my puja. I do the puja daily. I do Shodashopachara puja. Think. Then what have I surrendered at the feet of the Lord? What have I given? Therefore, it is not so easy. Why it is not so easy? Because it has been developed from over a period of time. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyate. Krishna says, Bahunam janmanam ante. After several hundreds and thousands of janma, jnanavan, the one who has gained the knowledge of the essential nature, mam prapadyate. You think it is that easy? You think it is that sulabha? Therefore, extreme alertness is required. Continuing, he says, Dehe aham Matihi rujyatam. One has to completely give up. What is that? Dehe aham. I am in this body. Frankly speaking, the body is in me. From the highest reality, from the highest standpoint, we say, I am in the body is in this house is in this particular street, this street is in this city, city in the nation, nation in the world is in Milky Way, like that we can go on. But frankly speaking, the whole cosmos is in me. I am not in them. Why? How? See, if I identify myself as the Brahma Tattva, not the body, not the mind, not the intellect, not the Chitta, not the Ankara, none of this, I am that Parabrahma Swarupa Paramatma. This much we have intellectually discussed. If I am that Paramatma, who am I? Sarva Vyapi, Sarva Shaktiman, Sarvajna, Parabrahma Swarupa. And what was I actually? Alpa Vyapi, Alpa Shaktiman, Alpajna. And how does Alpajna become Sarvajna? Because Alpajna is with reference to the body, mind, intellect, Sharira, Mana, Buddhi, Chitta, Ahankara. With reference to that, I am Alpajna. Identifying myself with the limited being, I am Alpajna, Alpashaktiman. But when I say I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not the intellect, when I am identifying myself with that essential being in me, that essential being, that Atman, that Brahman, that Parabrahma Swarupa Paramatma, that reality, that truth, the self. What is that? That is Sarvavyapi. It is there everywhere. When I have thus identified myself with that Supreme, how can I say I am in this body? That means again I have fallen back to identify myself as the limited jiva in a particular small place. Having gained the knowledge, aham dehe asmi matihi. Matihi meaning what? Mati here means opinion. Matihi rujyatam. Remove it. Come out of it. It is something like saying, Pujya Gurudev, Swami Chinmayanandaji, gives a very beautiful example. He says this person has a visiting card and goes to one company and he has to meet a particular officer there. He gives the card to the receptionist. The receptionist asks, who are you? Where are you from? He says, I am from this company from Mysuru. He goes to Bangalore, let us say. So she says, okay, please be seated, I will send the card inside. And within no time, there's another person with some tie and everything. He comes and sits there. And he also gives his card. Oh, you're from Wipro. Please be seated. Probably he might get a first chance. Why? He is representing Wipro, one of the biggest organizations. Whereas I am representing my own small company, one small company in one corner of Mysore. Now that person in the Wipro, he is given importance because his identity is of a bigger company. And the company next sends that person to, let us say, Mumbai. And in Mumbai he asks, where are you from? I am from Karnataka. There he will not say I am from Mysuru. He will say I am from Karnataka. And then there also he gains that order or something, and the company is very happy. They send him to the US or Australia. Please go talk to them on site. And then he goes there. Then when he goes there, what is his identity? His identity is no more a Mysore man. His identity is no more from Karnataka. He will say, I am from India. So his identity expands from one individual to one small company, to a bigger company, to a bigger institution, from a bigger place called Karnataka to an India. He now identifies himself with a whole nation. Think. And let us suppose, for example, we are taking up examples. They meet in Mars. Then what will they say? I am from the earth. There he will not say Mysuru or one small place called Brindavan Extension. He will say, I am from the earth. Look at that. When I expand my identity, I am no more the smaller person. My identity no more remains with that smaller entity. The identification is at a very huge level. Having now identified with the biggest of all, the Parabrahma Swarupa Paramatma, why should I identify myself with, again come back to the same little body? Aham dehe iti mati rujyata. Give up that smaller identity. Identify yourself with that supreme Parabrahma Swarupa Paramatma. Having this identified, the next one is a very important instruction given by Acharya. Buddha janaihi vadaha parityajyata. Now see, I had mentioned intellectual knowledge is one thing, experience is another thing. When I get the intellectual knowledge and identify with the knowledge and think that I know, within quotes, please be very attentive, because this is most of our disease. What is the disease? I know. I can, yes, with everybody. This I know is a factor which is to be scrutinized. Why should it be scrutinized? Because the fact that I have taken up myself to be a knowledgeable person, and the next wrong fact is I know better than you. There lies the problem. I know is not a problem when the I know is backed with another statement, whether it is said or unsaid, whether it is told or not told, that I know better than you. I know much more than you. All these attitudes will bring in that inner force, inner pressure to argue. Think. Conversation is one thing. Conversation with an attitude of inquiry is another thing. But conversation in the form of argument is always painful and will destroy. Because conversation as arguments will always increase our ego and decrease the gap between two people, or rather increase the gap, also decrease the love between the two people, decrease the acceptance level between the two people, decrease that comfort zone between the two people. Think. This is a very important factor which we have to understand, because the more we try to argue, the more we repel. And that too, Buddhajanaihi. Buddhajanaihi meaning what? Wise people. If we argue with wise people, we will become otherwise people only. Therefore, this Vadaha should be properly understood in its true form, so that we rectify our attitude. And when we rectify our attitude, the Vada will graduate to become Samvada. If it is not properly taken, Samvada can fall and become Vada. Vada and Samvada decides and defines what is the level of my knowledge. Remember the statement? Vidya dadati vinayam. This vinayata, this vinamrata in me alone is the key to quieten my mind. Think. What do we mean by argument? Vadaha. Parityajyatam, Acharya says. Very strong word it uses. Tyajyatam, give up. Parityajyatam, completely give up arguments with the wise men. What is this argument? We will see tomorrow. Very important factor. Right? Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.